still remember the moment I burst into that hospital lobby, fueled by fear and suspicion. She clutched her stomach, crying fake tears, claiming she was carrying my son's baby. But what she didn't know was that I was about to expose the biggest lie of her life. Some women will do anything to hold on to a man, even if it means faking a pregnancy. As a mother, I know when something isn't right. My son's future was at stake, so I took matters into my own hands, and the truth I uncovered changed everything. This is the story of how one desperate lie fell apart the moment I walked into that hospital. From the very beginning, something inside me whispered that her timing was too perfect to be real. My son had just gathered the courage to end a relationship that was draining him emotionally, and suddenly she appeared with trembling lips and a dramatic announcement. She was pregnant. She said it softly at first, like she wanted to appear innocent, but I saw the sly look in her eyes. She didn't tell him privately. She waited until we were all together, as if she wanted an audience to witness his reaction, to put him under pressure so he had no escape. She clung to him like her life depended on it, and the moment he tried taking even a tiny step back, she pressed her hand over her stomach, as if she were protecting a child who wasn't even there. At first, I tried to give her the benefit of doubt. I've lived long enough to know life surprises people, sometimes at the worst times. But this didn't feel like one of those surprises. This felt like a move in a game where my son was the prize. She acted so sure, so confident, yet no one had seen a doctor's report, no scan photos, not even one checkup appointment. Every time someone asked for simple medical details, she would cry, loudly, turning the conversation into a scene. She wouldn't let my son speak freely or think clearly. The moment he looked upset or unsure, she would suddenly feel sick, holding her stomach and claiming stress was hurting the baby. I watched him struggle. He's a good boy, compassionate, always wanting to do the right thing. The idea of walking away from a woman who claimed to be carrying his child crushed him. She used that kindness against him like a weapon. She painted him as the villain if he dared question her. She tried to control him through fear. Fear of being called irresponsible, fear of abandoning a child he never asked for. But what about his feelings? What about his future? The more she pushed guilt on him, the stronger that warning voice in my heart became. Whenever she talked about the pregnancy, her story changed. One day she claimed she'd known for weeks. The next, she said she'd just taken the test. She said the due date would be in December, and then later she said January. She refused to show a test, said it was personal. She got angry if someone asked where she was getting prenatal care. It was always excuses, delays, sudden complications whenever someone showed even mild suspicion. She was playing a role, and like most bad actors, she slipped more every time she opened her mouth. I stayed quiet at first, because my son needed to see the truth himself. But I watched, closely. Every lie she told became another brick in the wall she was building around him. And I knew if I waited too long, she'd lock him inside for good. A mother's intuition isn't magic. It's experience, wisdom, and love sharpened over years. Something inside me knew that if I didn't take action, my son's life could be destroyed, tied forever to a lie. And I promised myself that before she could pull him any deeper into her manipulation, I would uncover the truth with my own hands. As days turned into weeks, her manipulation became bolder and more calculated. She acted like my son's life now belonged to her, as if one sentence, "I'm pregnant," had given her the power to dictate every decision he made. She would speak on his behalf, interrupt him whenever he tried to express a concern, and insist that any disagreement was dangerous for the baby. She had found the perfect shield, one no kind-hearted man wants to fight against. She staged her innocence in front of the entire family. Whenever someone gently asked about doctor appointments or offered to accompany her, she switched her tone instantly, from sweet and caring to a victim fighting for her unborn child. She claimed the stress of being judged could cause complications. She used tears like a switch, turning them on the moment she sensed resistance. My son, worried and confused, fell deeper into her emotional trap. She crafted a narrative where she was the fragile mother-to-be, and we were the cruel people doubting a new life. Her gestures grew more dramatic, one hand always resting on her stomach, as if protecting a life she knew didn't exist. She'd skip meals dramatically, claiming nausea, but then secretly eat heartily when she thought no one was watching. She spoke about baby names, about nursery colors, and even dropped hints that moving in together or a quick wedding would make everything easier. The pressure was no longer subtle. She wanted security, commitment, control. She began isolating him from us. Anytime I planned a dinner or a simple family moment, she'd suddenly develop a headache or a fear that something might happen to the baby. She convinced him that stress, usually defined as our presence, was harmful, and he, desperate to do the right thing, followed her every direction. I saw the brightness in his face dim a little more each day. That scared me more than anything, because manipulation like hers doesn't just trap the body, it traps the mind. Every time my son tried to pause and breathe, she'd break down crying, insisting he didn't care about the baby. She'd twist his words into accusations, blame him for her own lies, and then use his guilt as the leash to pull him back. Her strategy was clear: keep him emotionally exhausted so he couldn't think logically. And the worst part? It was working. But while she controlled him with fear, she could never control me. I watched every detail carefully. The missing reports, the excuses, the sudden mood shifts, the contradictions. I saw a woman trying too hard to act like a mother, but not trying at all to actually protect a baby. A woman who only felt pregnancy symptoms when attention slipped away from her. I remained silent, but inside my determination was turning into steel. She thought she could corner him into a life he didn't choose. What she didn't realize was that a mother's love doesn't back down. I wasn't going to let her rewrite his future. I was waiting for the right moment. The moment when her lies would trip over themselves, and when it came, she wouldn't be ready for the truth I was going to uncover. The turning point came one afternoon when she dramatically announced she needed to go to the hospital. She clutched her stomach, moaning loudly, insisting something was wrong with the baby. Her eyes darted between us, desperate to see panic. My son immediately rushed to her side, terrified something might happen. But instead of fear, I felt clarity. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I grabbed my bag and calmly said we'd go together. She froze for a second, as if she hadn't planned for that response. Her expression flickered. Fear flashed in her eyes before she hid it behind another act of pain. She didn't want me there, that was obvious, but she had no choice. She climbed into the car, squeezing fake tears out the entire ride, making whimpering sounds that seemed rehearsed. The hospital doors slid open, and suddenly her performance weakened. She moved slower, quieter. The loud crying faded into nervous glances. She didn't know where to go. She had no doctor, no appointment. She pointed vaguely toward a random hallway, mumbling about a nurse she supposedly knew. My son followed her blindly, but I walked straight to the front desk. "Patient name?" the receptionist asked. I gave her the girl's full name, the name she proudly claimed the hospital staff knew well. The receptionist typed for a moment, then frowned. She tried different spellings, different databases. Nothing. "She has no records here," the receptionist said finally, her voice neutral but confused. "No visits, no pregnancy file. We've never treated her." I looked at her, really looked. Her hands were shaking, not from pain, but from panic. Sweat gathered on her forehead. Her lips trembled, not with tears, but with fear that the walls she built were crashing down around her. My son stared at her, completely lost. He wanted to believe her so badly. He loved her once. That hope hadn't fully died yet. He kept asking if maybe there was a mistake, maybe she went to another branch. But she didn't speak. She couldn't. Her silence was the confession she never meant to give. I turned to her and said very quietly, "Enough lies." She tried to talk, stuttering excuses about wrong hospitals and missing paperwork, but she couldn't hold the story together anymore. The receptionist even asked if she wanted to check in for emergency care, but she refused instantly. A woman truly worried about her baby doesn't refuse help. She had no pregnancy, no medical history, not even a basic plan to make the lie believable. My son's face fell as realization hit him like a storm. The girl who pretended to love him had been manipulating him with the cruelest lie possible. His eyes turned red, not with anger, but with heartbreak, disbelief, betrayal. At that moment, she did something unexpected. Instead of apologizing, she tried to turn the blame on me, accusing me of stressing her to the point she lost the baby. It was a last-ditch attempt to keep her story alive, but her voice shook. She couldn't look anyone in the eye. That hospital, the place she thought she could use as a stage for her drama, became the place where her lies finally collapsed. I stood there, not triumphant, but relieved. The truth had been found. My son was freed, and she was out of moves. Silence filled the hospital hallway after her lie crumbled. But silence can be louder than shouting. It forces the truth to stand there without anywhere to hide. My son looked at her as if he was seeing a stranger for the first time. The love in his eyes was replaced by pain, a deep pain that only betrayal can cause. She couldn't handle his gaze. She kept looking down at the floor, at the walls, anywhere except at the boy she'd tried to trap. I took a deep breath because I knew this was a moment that could shape my son's future. If I reacted with anger alone, she would twist the narrative again. So instead of yelling, I spoke with a calm but firm voice, the kind a mother uses when there's no room left for lies. I asked her why she would play with someone's heart like this, why she would weaponize motherhood, why she would pretend to carry a life just to keep a relationship alive that had already died. She didn't answer. She chewed her lip like a child who got caught stealing but didn't want to admit it. My son finally found his voice, though it shook with emotion. He asked her the same questions, desperately searching for any piece of honesty in the wreckage of her deceit. She still refused to accept the truth. Instead, she lashed out. She said we pressured her, judged her, made her feel unwanted. She screamed that if we had supported her, she wouldn't have lost the baby. Even in disgrace, she clung to the lie, twisting it to make herself the victim again. But the more she spoke, the more she exposed her desperation. There was a moment where she tried to reach for his hand, pleading that she did it out of love, but he stepped back. That one step was like breaking a chain. His tears weren't for her. They were for the time he wasted believing in someone who never deserved his trust. She looked stunned, as if she didn't expect him to choose his dignity over her manipulation. Finally, he told her it was over. Not with yelling, but with a solid and broken certainty. He told her that love cannot survive inside a cage built of lies. She tried to accuse me one last time, saying I took her family away, but my son stopped her. He defended me, his mother, for the first time since this mess began. He said the only thing I did was reveal the truth she tried so hard to bury. She left the hospital in a storm of angry footsteps, still pretending she was the one betrayed, and as the automatic doors slid shut behind her, it felt like closing the chapter of a nightmare. My son's shoulders dropped, not in defeat, but in freedom. He was hurt, yes, but he was no longer trapped. I wrapped my arms around him, feeling his heart break against mine. A mother always wants to protect her child, but sometimes the protection comes through painful truths, not comforting lies. In that hallway, he realized that love isn't about holding on tightly to someone who hurts you. It's about walking away when you finally recognize your own worth, and I saw in his eyes, he was beginning to see that worth clearly for the first time. In the quiet days that followed, a soft strength began to replace the heartbreak in my son. He would sit alone sometimes, thinking deeply, replaying moments where he ignored his instincts just to keep someone else happy. He realized that love is not meant to imprison your choices or chain your future to someone's selfishness. And I realized something too, that we, as women, must never underestimate the power of another woman's intentions. Some use love to heal, others use it to control. I spoke to him gently but honestly. I reminded him that being caring is a gift, but only when given to someone who values it. The wrong person will turn kindness into a weakness, twist loyalty into pressure, and manipulate your goodness until you forget who you are. He'd allowed guilt, fear, and the idea of responsibility to blind him to the truth. But now he understood something important. A life built on lies collapses sooner or later, and the heartbreak of discovering the truth is far better than a lifetime of living in deception. As a woman, I know how sacred motherhood is. It is not a tool to win a relationship. It is not a story to tell when convenience demands it. The thought that someone would fake pregnancy just to secure a man, it breaks something inside you. Because pregnancy isn't just a word, it's a promise, a future, a whole universe being formed. When someone uses that sacred trust as a weapon, it is the ultimate betrayal, not just to the man, but to the dignity of womanhood. I watched my son slowly rebuild himself. He started making decisions for his own happiness, not out of fear or pressure. He learned that loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing every part of himself for their benefit. He learned to value his dreams, his career, his future, and most importantly, he learned that real love doesn't need lies to survive. For me, the experience became a reminder that protecting the ones we love sometimes means standing firm even when the world calls you harsh. A mother's love isn't always soft. Sometimes it must be sharp enough to cut through the chains holding her child back. We are warriors when our families are threatened. We carry wisdom our children don't yet understand, and we step into the fire before they ever feel the heat. The girl's lies didn't destroy us, they revealed our strength. She thought she could control our lives with deception, but instead, she exposed her own emptiness. My son didn't lose anything valuable. He escaped something dangerous, and I, as his mother, earned an even deeper trust from him. The trust that I will always fight for him, even if he doesn't see the danger coming. Love should empower, not trap. It should lift us up, not break us down. And sometimes the most important lesson we learn is this: it's better to walk alone with the truth than to be held hostage by a lie disguised as love.